So Russia is changing its strategy. Moscow's drone war is now sweeping across Ukraine from eastern cities to the once quiet west. Ukraine is struggling to keep up, shooting down hundreds but urging the world for more defense aid. All this ahead of Trump's major announcement on Russia on Monday. Here's a report.
Ukraine is under siege. Russia is pounding Ukraine with hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles for the fourth consecutive day. Moscow has fired nearly 600 Shahed drones targeting the western cities of Lviv, Bukovina and the already hard-hit east. The relentless strikes have left Ukrainians scrambling for shelter.
In the bomb shelter, we could hear explosions and drones flying above us, and we saw the destructions on our street.
Moscow has unleashed its bombing campaign by targeting cities of Chernivtsi, Lviv, Lutsk, Bukovina in the west to Kharkiv and Sumy in the east. Experts say this isn't an outlier, this is Kremlin's new strategy. Russia knows when and how to carry out the precision strikes. Western cities are not far from Russia's targets. Russia is showing off its nuclear muscle. It is moving its deadliest strategic weapon, Yars missile, for its night drills. The intercontinental ballistic missile system is designed to carry multiple nuclear warheads, travel over 10,000 kilometers, and evade missile defense with sophisticated decoys. This isn't a drill for domestic training, this is a postcard to a nuclear reminder, right as conventional strikes peak. And as the smoke clears, Ukraine looks westward. President Zelensky has confirmed US military aid has resumed. After a temporary freeze, crucial supplies including Patriot systems are reportedly on the way. President Zelensky is also urging for tougher sanctions on Russia, but the biggest shift has come from Washington. President Trump, for the first time since returning to office, is using presidential drawdown authority, allowing arms to be sent directly from American stockpiles, and NATO is buying US Patriots to supply Ukraine, with Germany, Norway and other European states footing the bill.
Russian drones hit a maternity hospital in Ukraine overnight. I know. You'll be seeing things happening.
The clock is ticking, as President Trump is set to make a major announcement on Russia on Monday. No one knows what it will be, but everyone knows what it could mean. For Ukraine, it could be the difference between holding the line or losing the sky. Bureau report, WION, World is One.
All right, now joining us in the broadcast, we've got a retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, who's a military expert and also the host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Colonel Davis, thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us here on WION. Now, looking at what has unfolded in the Ukraine war in the course of the last week, where Russia has carried out repeatedly, sending hundreds of drones into different Ukrainian territories to stage these attacks. In your assessment, what is Russia trying to accomplish here?
Listen, Russia is very clear on this. There should be no ambiguity. I think one of the biggest problems is that very few in the West want to actually listen to what they're saying, because what they're saying and what they're doing are commensurate. What they said is that they will either end this war via negotiations, and they laid out the conditions at the second Istanbul meeting a month or so ago to the Ukrainian side, or they say very plainly they will keep fighting on the ground and they will keep fighting in the air until they seize by force of arms what they want. And they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. Meanwhile, you have the West not willing to support any of that. Certainly the Ukraine side is not willing to submit to those very draconian measures. We got to be clear on that. But you have, like Germany, just announced that they're accelerating the delivery of long-range missile fire with the Taurus into Ukraine to use deep into Russia, in, quote, high triple-digit numbers. So the Western side continues to ramp up capabilities. You obviously have Trump, you just mentioned it ago, is now going to turn on a little bit more of the U.S. weapons. The European Union and NATO and individual European countries are ramping it up too. So you have both sides continuing to ramp up military capabilities, and nobody is looking at getting this thing peacefully done. So this is going to get worse before it gets better, I'm afraid.
It's going to get worse is the prediction that you're putting out. But also weigh in on what Donald Trump said this week, that, he in fact berated Vladimir Putin in a manner that he's never done before since he's assumed presidency. He said that when he talks to Putin, he hears a lot of nice things that are said, but nothing actually happens in Russia taking steps towards a ceasefire. With that being the case, what approach do you think Donald Trump will now take to try and bring about some kind of a ceasefire, if that is at all possible?
Well, this is another puzzling and problematic issue here, because this all stems from the July 3rd phone call between Trump and Putin, when Trump, reported by both sides, actually asked again for an unconditional ceasefire from the Russian side. The Russian side, very politely, even according to their own readouts, said, no, we're not going to do that. Until all the core issues have been settled and our conditions have been met, we're going to continue fighting, and we are non-negotiable on that. And I don't know why the U.S. president thought that just because he asked Russia to do that they would say yes, because there's militarily no reason for them to agree to an unconditional ceasefire when they're in the position of advantage. But Trump got mad because they didn't, and now he says, first of all, we've released and taken the pause back off of the missiles we're sending, and now I suspect that on Monday they're going to announce both an increase in the amount of ammunition and weapons we're going to send to Ukraine, and also a sanctions package, which Senator Lindsey Graham has been basically begging to get done for a long time. And I think those are probably the two things that are going to get done. But everybody needs to be clear that is going to have no impact at all on the fighting. It's not going to cause Russia any more harm. It may hurt them a little bit more, but it won't change the outcome. It won't change their air superiority. It won't change the Ukraine's ability to defend against these missiles around the margins only. But Russia clearly has enough air weapons to continue to saturate the air, so no matter how many more Patriots you send, it won't be enough. And these kinds of destructions, like you showed a minute ago, will simply continue on, and the fighting on the ground will continue moving forward to the west.
All right, we'll have to leave there. Thank you very much indeed, Colonel Davis, for joining us with that perspective then.
Thank you very much.